Now, back to more of Behind the Scenes at the Hanover Theatre. And your host, Lisa Condit.
Thank you all for listening today. I'm excited to be here on the phone with Jeffrey Moss. He's the director for An American in Paris, which, of course, is part of our 2019-20 Broadway subscription series, and this particular run is generously sponsored by Commerce Bank. Jeffrey, welcome to our program.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Absolutely. And so I have to tell you, I saw An American in Paris one of the times that I was in New York, and it is just such a lush and beautiful show. So congratulations to you on your wonderful work. And you have quite the resume behind you as far as hits that you've been involved with. What really captured your attention about this particular production? What made you want to do An American in Paris?
Well, of course, it's the score, the Gershwin score.
Of course.
How could one resist that? It's got everything. And it's got, not only are these tunes that are part of our lives, but they're embedded in this script by Craig Lucas, which is based on the movie, in such an interesting way and an important way. They are used to describe the emotions and the plot, the storyline. It's really a terrific blend of words and music, as only the Gershwins can do.
Right. I know. It really is one of the most favorite Gershwin musicals, I think, personally, of all time. And, you know, there are so many different elements to it. And you said, when you said it has it all, you're really not exaggerating about that. And so there have got to be some challenges to really encompassing it all when you're talking about musical theater as well. So what were some of those challenges, and did it have anything to do with making sure that this was a current revival or rendition of the musical?
Well, what we're doing is current, yes, and I'll tell you what's very current about it.
Yes.
Very current this week. This is the 75th anniversary of D-Day, of the invasion of Normandy. And An American in Paris takes place on the eve of the liberation of Paris. And I was reminded this week of just how big an event, how much of an important an event this was and is. It's a memory to this generation. And I think part of the genius of this piece is that it recreates that moment in time and does it in a very interesting way, as the movie did. The musical delves into the situation of Paris, what it was like to live there. Paris had bread lines. Paris had food rationing. Paris had guns even after the liberation, guns at night, Nazi sympathizers. It was part of the fabric of that city. It was a city emerging from a tragedy. And it's called An American in Paris because it's about an American, an optimistic American who decides to stay in that city and not go back to the U.S. And what happens to him and what happens to the people that he finds in this city because of him. And it's interesting story of American optimism in the face of tragedy and something that's befallen a people that he falls in love with.
The way you describe that, it's so interesting because it just reminds us how relevant those human stories really are, and they can be applied to almost any current event. But certainly
That's right. Paris
has a lot going on right now.
Right. I mean, the world has a lot going on right now, and the place of the American and the American optimism that this show is about. I point this out just in passing, but the movie that this musical is based on was written by Alan J. Lerner. Alan J. Lerner, of course, wrote My Fair Lady, but Alan J. Lerner also wrote Brigadoon. Brigadoon is about two Americans who come across a European city in Scotland that only appears every 100 years, but it's their optimism, that man's optimism, that moves those people and takes them from one place to another. And it's very much a similar story here. That's what we have. Americans have a particular blend DNA, and I think at the end of the war, having helped that country, that city come back to life, he remained and became part of the life of that city. And in that way, it's a big romance between two cultures, but it's also a beautiful personal romance between a guy named Jerry and a lady named Lise, in the biggest and the smallest sense of a romance. And of course, the Gershwin music is so lush and so wonderful. It makes us cry, it makes us laugh, and that's what Jerry and Lise encounter in the course of this show.
There are so many wonderful numbers in this musical, and I know it's asking you like how to choose your favorite child, but I challenge you anyway. If there was a favorite moment or a favorite piece in the musical, what would it be? I know, it's hard.
What a question, right?
I know. You can pick two if it makes it a little bit easier, or three for that matter. But just really, what are those moments during the course of this musical where?
Well, there's a wonderful moment in "I Got Rhythm."
Yes.
Which is, of course, a great song.
Yes, it is.
In the course of this play, and in this moment when these people are celebrating this discovery of friendship, and they are singing this kind of easygoing song, the electricity goes out, which was happened a lot. Then, of course, it was wartime, and the lights go out. And they pull themselves together in this moment with that song. And it's just a great, great moment. Not only for the people that are going to do it, but for the audience watching it, to see that song emerge in the dark after the whole version of it in light. It's very exciting. I just love that.
I do too. And you know what? I'm glad that I didn't have to answer that question, because I don't think I would be able to pick a favorite time or a favorite
that's
scene.
That's the first favorite moment.
Yeah. Is there another one that's bubbling up right after it?
Well, there's a wonderful moment with the use of the song's "Wonderful." It's just used in a really interesting, somewhat sad way, because there are three people in love with the same girl and they don't know it.
Yeah.
In this show, and the song is just so wonderful. It's just it does what it's supposed to do, and for those people who remember it or who sing it in the shower or just it's part of them, it's wonderful to hear it. And for those who've never heard it, it's a new song. It's something special.
Absolutely.
You can't escape the hypnotism of the Gershwin music.
Absolutely. So for our listeners who may have just tuned in, we're speaking with Jeffrey Moss. He's the director for An American in Paris, which is coming to the Hanover Theatre April 23rd through 26th. That's in 2020. It's available as part of our Broadway series now. So thank you for that. Now, just switching gears a little bit, how did you get into this whole thing? You've got an amazing resume. You've been involved with amazing hit shows. You've got An American in Paris. What really sparked that passion that made you decide this is what you wanted to do? All the tough questions today.
A lot of tough questions. Well, I grew up right near New York. I still live in New York.
That helps, yes.
In fact, I mean, I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to. I'm talking to you from my house, my home in New York City, and I'm looking out at a building. I live. This building is on Riverside Drive, and I'm looking at the building next to me, and that building is where George Gershwin had his penthouse apartment. And
wow.
I can see it from here as I'm talking to you, and it's where all those parties were and all that. It's just that Broadway thing. I mean, I grew up. My folks always took me to the theater, and I think I fell in love with it long ago.
Absolutely.
Something magic about it.
So any tips for other aspiring directors or people who really do love going to the theater and feel like, oh, this could be such an interesting career? Because there are a lot of options in the performing arts that people don't always think about.
Well, I think one has to be realistic. That's easy to say.
Right.
Having just said, oh, well, I fell in love with it. It's a hard business.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing easy about it. It's a collaborative business. It's about working with people and sharing ideas, and feeling passionate about what you do.
Absolutely. I say that to everybody that I talk to, that you really have to love what you do. You have to feel passionate. Anytime we speak to younger people, find something that really you would do just because you enjoy doing it. Because the fact is, work takes a lot of time for all of us, so we really need to love it.
Certainly does.
Certainly does. So anything else you want to tell our audience or our listeners? Tickets are going to be available, but subscriptions are available right now at the Hanover Theatre. We spell theater with an RE.org.
I just think this is an extraordinary evening in the theater. It's musical. It's magical. It's of course, it's filled with wonderful dance. It's based on a wonderful movie. There's nothing better than American in Paris, and I hope we capture the spirit of that on the stage. It's just a special evening.
It really is. And it's recommended for ages 10 and up. So one thing that I would say is this is the perfect musical to take the whole family. Multi-generations will enjoy this experience. And it gives, to your point, it gives you something to talk about in a very real sense where you can use what's happening on the stage to spark some conversation about what might be happening right here or in our lives, what we're seeing on the news. And it's really great. Yeah. That's the heavy side. The bright side is obviously the music and the choreography and the staging.
And it's pretty funny, this show, too. I mean, we all like jokes. I'm big on jokes.
Yes.
It's a funny show. There are some funny characters. There's some sad moments. There's some happy moments. It's very much like life.
Absolutely.
Except it's got a great score.
Life does, too. It's just all in our heads and hearts, right?
You said it.
So thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today, everybody. We've been talking with...
my pleasure.
Yes, with Jeffrey Moss. He's the director of An American in Paris. Again, coming to the Hanover Theatre and Conservatory, April 23rd through 26th. Thank you again. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Everybody else, stay tuned. We'll be back after a quick message here on WCRN AM 830.